Good morning, Minnesota. Welcome to the March edition of the SSIS Coffee Talk on SSIS tools for supervisor and lead staff. We have a pretty power-packed agenda today, so we're going to get going here. For introductions today, we'll let the folks that are presenting introduce themselves right as they get started. We are going to go over the housekeeping and Tennyson warning. We're going to have an announcement of the mentor or coordinator of the month, and we're going to go talk more about tools for supervisors and lead staff, which includes reports, SSIS management tools, grids, data, integrity, purge and clearing, repository, AFCARs, resources, and then we'll have closing announcements. Make sure you stay tuned for those. Our housekeeping, as always, attendees have been muted upon entry. If you'd like to speak, please raise your hand using the reaction emoji at the bottom of your screen, and you'll be unmuted by panelists. Questions can also be submitted through the chat and will be monitored by our SSIS Business Ops staff. Closed captioning can be enabled using the CC button located on the bottom left of your screen. And this session is going to be recorded and will be posted on the Minnesota Child Welfare Training Academy website in the near future. A follow-up document will be prepared and distributed to attendees 7 to 10 days following this WebEx event. This is the Tennyson warning. I'll give you a chance to look it over real quick because this is going to be recorded. You need to know what you're getting into. So give yourself a couple of minutes here to read, and I'll be right back. Hopefully that was enough time for you to read through the Tennyson warning. Next up, we're going to have Heidi announce the mentor of the month.
Hey, good morning, everybody. We are excited to announce Anoka County's Ben Noack as the mentor of the month. Ben has been an outstanding partner both for his agency and SSIS. His dedication and mentorship has been truly invaluable. He played a pivotal role in coordinating his agency during a pilot project and consistently offered support whenever SSIS business operations staff reached out with questions or requests for assistance. Ben's professionalism, extensive experience, and deep expertise have greatly contributed to the success of our collaborative efforts. We are so very grateful for his leadership and the positive impact he continues to make. Please join us in congratulating Ben on this well-deserved recognition. Thanks so much, Ben.
Congratulations, Ben. I will now pass it off to Youssef, who will start the presentation, his part of the presentation.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Youssef Al-Hajbi. I work in DCYF in Child Safety and Permanency. I'm a data analyst, and also I'm the Tableau server, one of the Tableau server admins. Today, I would like to talk about the Tableau server and what does it have, what kind of dashboard does it have, and some of the functions that you could use, and what can you use Tableau server with. So some of this information may be not new for you, but you might learn a few things. And I will start by sharing the Tableau server site in the chat if you'd like to follow. So just copy the URL and we could jump into navigating Tableau server together. Okay. So share my screen. Okay. All right. As you can see in my screen, when you just use the Tableau server link, you just put in the URL top and you go to log in. Just sign in here. Just enter your username and password. For our staff in DCYF, we just have to put a username and password. For the agencies and the counties, we'll have to put your SSIS username and password. Before the username, you will have to add a prefix, and this is the prefix that you have to add in there. I can also include it in the chat. So without the prefix, for folks who works in the counties and agencies, the Tableau server will not let you in. So just make sure you put your prefix before your username. And if you have any issues logging in, please contact your SSIS admin or just reach out to us. If you cannot reach your admin or you have issues knowing who's your admin or things like that, just send us an email to the research team. And I just included it in the chat. So I'll just give a few seconds for folks to log in. And after you log in, just click sign in. And as soon as you sign in, some of you will see 2 servers and some of you just will see 1. Just click on the DHS County Partner site. Even though the agency had changed its name, for now, it's still going to show as DHS County Partner site. So you just click that, and this is the county server facing. As you could see, it's always going to be defaulted to this page. However, I also always recommend to go to the Explore tab. This Explore tab, is the main page for Tableau server where you could filter with what kind of projects, workbooks, or views you're looking for. And basically, what those means, projects are just mean folders, same as the folders within our computers, laptops, and things like that. The workbooks are the individual dashboards that we have inside the server. Like each one of those is a single dashboard, and each one of those is inside a project, which is a folder, right? As you could see that there are more views than workbooks. The views are the individual sheets within a specific dash or specific workbook, which is we call always dashboards. And those are the dashboards. And here you could, if you go to views and you just want to know okay, which sheets inside a specific workbook people are looking at the most and things like that, you could just filter right here just by clicking the filter right here, and it's going to show you the largest views to the lowest, right? Okay. So Explore is your main go place to actually start looking at things within the server, right? And you also have Home. Home's always going to be it's always going to host the dashboards where you have set them as your favorites. Here we're going to talk about how to set dashboard as your favorites. Recent are just basically the recent dashboard you just viewed. Shared with me, we're also going to talk about it. It's just like the dashboard that are shared with you from your colleagues who also have access to the server. Recommendations, this is just recommendations that Tableau server is giving you based on your recent the dashboard you recently viewed. So let's say if you open a specific dashboard, Tableau will also say, you might like this dashboard as well. It's like when you log into Amazon, Amazon's like, oh, you might like this product as well because you just bought this one. Okay. So, and as I told you, you might not have all of these options, but we're only gonna talk about the most important ones. So let's go back to Explore. And here you could see there are 4 folders. We're not gonna worry about the folders as much. So we'll go to workbooks. And let's say over here, you're looking for a specific dashboard, but you really don't know the name of it. But let's say we know that the person that created this dashboard, his name is John, for example. So you could go here to search, and you could go to owner, and you could go to pick the person that created the dashboard. Let's say, for instance, it's John. So now you could see all the dashboard that are built by John, and you go from there to look for the dashboard you're looking for, right? And let's say we could clear here. Or for example, you're not looking for a specific dashboard, but you're looking for dashboard that contain age data, right? Or case list. right? You want to just look into dashboard that have case list. So you just go here to tags, and you go to case list, and you could tell that this is a dashboard that look into case list. Okay, and so on and so forth. There's so many tags. So it's like basically when we build a dashboard, there is a section where we could add tags, and we add them. It's like, okay, this dashboard talks about case management, talks about case list, talks about meal treatment, talk about neglect. So we just add those tags in there. So if you're not knowing this specific dashboard name, or you just want to look into what kind of dashboard have specific type of data, you just go to tags and look for it. Right. So here's like modified on and after. Here you want to look into the recent dashboards. Let's say you want to look into the dashboard that they were refreshed or created on February 1st. So you just go here and like select February 1st and look into this dashboard. So it's like if you want to keep on date on the dashboard that was recently added or recently modified. Modified on and before, it's just the opposite. Okay, created on and after. This is more likely for new dashboards. You focus on what kind of dashboard that just recently created and were put in the server. Okay. On and before is the opposite. Okay. And here's other filters. You could filter by your favorite recent dashboard you just visit, things like that. So let's look for a specific dashboard. Let's say if you already know the specific dashboard you're looking for, and you know the name of it, and you don't really necessarily have to type the entire name of the dashboard you're looking for. So for this example, let's look for a dashboard called General Child Welfare Statistics. So just type the first few letters and it will show up. Okay. And as soon as you search for a specific dashboard, like by the drop down over here, and you just type a few letters or you type the entire name, it's up to you. But as soon as you start typing, things will show up. And as you can tell from here, from this dashboard, or from this view right here, there's specific things that are helpful. So for example, this is the file path where this dashboard is hosted. So you could tell it's in the Explorer, what we talked about is inside a folder called 1-county data, and this is the dashboard name. And here you could tell that this is the name of the dashboard, this is the person that created the dashboard. So if you have like a specific question about this dashboard, you could send us an email to the research team, and just like you could specific your question to like John, and just send John a message or something like that. So modified on, you could tell when this workbook was refreshed or modified was on March 7th. Okay, and here it talks about what's inside the dashboard. Here it talks about what this dashboard is about. Right, here's the location, the owner. This is the tags we just talked about. So this data was tagged as it has age data, case data, child data, meal treatment, and things like that, screening data and things like that. So, right. And here also you could tell there's a star here. You could make this dashboard as your favorite. So by clicking here, this dashboard is going to be hosted in this section right here. So if you don't have to go every day and type the dashboard name right here, you could just go on your favorites and it's going to be hosted there. Okay. So as I said, this dashboard called a workbook inside Tableau server, and those are called the specific sheets within a workbook. As you could tell, you could also make your specific views specific sheets inside the workbook as your favorite. So just do that. So as soon as you open a dashboard, there's a lot of things or a lot of functions you could use. And one of the most important things, let's say you forgot our research team email and you want to send us an email, or you have questions about this dashboard, or you have a request or something like that, you could just open a dashboard and you're always going to see a little email icon right here. And as soon as you click on the email icon, it's going to open an Outlook email, and it's going to have our email in there.
Yusuf?
Yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt. We have some questions in the chat, and it sounds like we might have a little bit of confusion on what Tableau is used for, and like how it could be helpful to them. You're doing great showing them how to use it, but I think we
Yeah,
just,
so
thank you.
yeah, what Tableau, so Tableau, we use Tableau server to um so we build dashboards, and these dashboards have a lot of data that a lot of information that could be helpful in your day-to-day work. And Tableau server is used to host these dashboards. So to give people easier access for these dashboards, and we could always keep up with updating these dashboards in easier way. So what Tableau server is used for is for hosting these dashboards, so people could have easy access. And these dashboards are built for, basically making your work easier, giving you easier access to information, analyzing data for you, that will help you in your day-to-day work. Um, I mean, you could do with it as you wish. Um, so this information is most likely, or all of it is coming from SSIS. And what we're trying to do with building dashboard is transferring, raw data into viewable material you could like filter, material you could read easily. Things are aggregated, so you could look at the totals or look at like case level data. There are other dashboards within the Tableau server that you could have, you know uh, row level data where you could like look into a specific child, a specific individual, and you could see where they at, based on the dashboard. Um, we cannot show that right now because every county will have its own access for these specific dashboards. For example, this dashboard everybody will have access to, but there's other dashboards will have strict access to them because they will contain like information about certain individuals, let's say in Anoka County, that other counties cannot see it except people from Anoka County. I mean, the workers from Anoka County. So I hope that answered your question. Okay, so we'll go back into some of the functions on how to use Tableau server. Like I said, there are some, if you just like look into the actual dashboard, there are a lot of things you could see. And one of them is the email function and also the info button. The info button is basically telling you what this dashboard is about. So going back to your question, is like when you log into Tableau server, you start looking to dashboard and you really like, okay, what's the point from this dashboard? Is when you actually go to the info button, and the info button will actually explain to you what this specific sheet is about and what is it used for, right? So first you would open this dashboard and you will go to the info section right here and you will read what this dashboard is about, right? Then if you go into a specific sheet and you go to the info button, you will know what this specific sheet is about and how could it be helpful to you. You know, some dashboard will be helpful to you and some are not, but I'm 100% sure if you log into Tableau server, you will find something that is interesting or helpful, that you will use in the future. Okay.
Hey, Yusuf,
Like I said, yeah.
we do have a question. Are there other dashboards available for other program areas other than child
Yes.
welfare, like adult mental health or, okay,
Oh, well, we're most focused on like child welfare,
thank you.
not with adult, no. So, okay. So, yeah. So when you open a specific view, you will notice that there are specific filters that are built. And mostly you always find a filter that filters by agency. So going back to why dashboards are helpful, because specific counties could look into their data. Like instead of the county actually, our job is to support the counties and the agencies. And by doing that is to make your job easier by analyzing data for you and actually answering your data requests that some counties are using. So let's say, for example, if we select Anoka, we could tell that, it filters by specific county. Here we could talk about the number of child of child protection reports received and screened, right? And here there's filters that talk about like, number of alleged victims screened in and assessed. So we could talk, you could look into that. Okay. You could look into like group breakdown. And here you could see, okay, it's broken down by neglect, physical abuse, sexual abuse. So instead of you looking into SSIS, you will come to Tableau server and actually like opening a dashboard, and you will have this amazing dashboard that you could look at and actually get the information you need, making things easier to read and more fun to use. Okay. And let's say within this dashboard also, you could use those to print report. Let's say you're doing a presentation or you're doing a simple report that you want to use to your send to your manager, supervisor, share with your colleagues and things like that. You could always go filter the data you want to send. Let's say we want the total, right? Or we want the breakdown, and we want to select Clay County, right? As you can see, also the map is filtered, so people could actually like know what Clay County is. And we go to here to the download area. We click PDF. We go to this sheet right here. We select specific sheet from this workbook, and you could select as many sheets as you want. So let's just select 2 of them right now and download. And here it is, right? This is the other sheet inside this workbook. And here you could tell there is a bar with another sheets within a workbook that contains other information. Here you could, for example, you could select a year you want to see. Let's say you want to see 2023. And here it talks about the number of child protection report received and screened, breaking down by race. Right? And you could select other filters that have other things. And here is also the same breakdown by age. Okay, response back by age. And so on and so forth. Okay, so Tableau server has a lot of functions, a lot of abilities to actually use and actually is going to be very helpful. And I don't want to go over time. What we have is we have a Tableau server user guide that I built a while back that contains all the information about Tableau server and what it could be used for, and the things. It goes from information about how to log in to actually advanced use Tableau server and all the functions that can be used, from downloading, exporting data, exporting images, exporting presentations, and things like that. There is also like a function that, let's say if you're doing a presentation about this dashboard or specific data points and you want it to be in a presentation format, you could just go here and click PowerPoint. You could click an image if you just want to get a snippet of this data and like share it with your colleagues. What else? You could also share this stuff. Share this dashboard with people within your agency. As long as they have Tableau server credentials, then they will be able to log in. And by sharing this data, you could just click share here on top, and you could copy the URL, or you could just click here and copy the URL from the top and share it with your colleagues. Sometimes this over here, if you click share, you could also like tag them here. So let's say if I want, somebody from my agency, let's say John, to actually be tagged and actually look into this, I could just tag him here by clicking add, typing his name, then sharing. Now John will receive an email that says, hey, Yusuf shared a specific dashboard with you. Just click this link and go look at it. So yeah, Tableau server have a lot of function, and I believe it's going to be very useful if you use it. if you just dive in and just like, go around, look into things, there are a lot of other dashboards that we have within the server that could be very useful. We have a total of 41 dashboard right now. That's, that serves agencies and counties. And you can see like there is some dashboard that receive 3,000 views a day or a week and things like that. So it could be very helpful for some folks to use Tableau Server. So I think I used up all my time. I'm sorry I rushed this presentation, but again, I'll be sending the Tableau Server user guide to all of you, and just like take a look around Tableau Server. If you cannot access Tableau Server, just send me an email or send the research team an email, and we'll work on resetting your password or your username for you. And we'll also send you the Tableau username guide. Does anybody have any questions?
Was there anything else in the chat that needed to be covered?
Just to recap the chat, if you all could take a second, there's been some links to some pretty valuable resources for Tableau Server. We do realize that the scope of Tableau Server in regards to child welfare is fairly narrow, but it is a useful tool for child welfare related purposes. And we just wanted the research and evaluation team to join us today to just kind of cover little tidbits about Tableau Server and its benefits to child welfare. Different program areas throughout the Department of Human Services and then the Department of Children, Youth, and Families may use other mechanisms to report out data and statistics regarding their program areas. So I would encourage folks to navigate, to the World Wide Web and look up these various program areas on our Department of Human Services website to see if we can tap into some other reporting mechanisms. But I did want Yusuf to be here today to help provide a little bit of an overview. And I know that he probably barely scratched the surface in terms of what Tableau can do for folks in the child welfare universe. So Yusuf, or Jillian, I believe Jillian, the interim supervisor, is on the call here, and she left some valuable information in the chat as well. Are there ways for agencies to reach out to research to schedule a more in-depth overview of how this tool can be useful for their work?
If either of you are talking, you might be on mute.
Maybe I don't know if I phrased the question in a comprehensive way. Yusuf, is there a way for agencies to reach out to get more in-depth information about Tableau Server? Can they reach out to research and evaluation?
Yeah, sorry, I had some difficulties with the microphone. Yes, you could reach out to our email if you have any requests that you want to submit to us, or also if you have any questions, you could just send us an email to our research team email, and we'll reply to you. Also, if you have, there was a question about if the data is updated monthly. Yes, there are some dashboards are updated monthly, and there are some dashboards are updated daily. Depending on what the dashboard is, and what does it contain. So the dashboard we looked at is updated monthly. There are some dashboard that have like row level data that a lot of county folks that use in their like day-to-day jobs, and they want the data updated like daily. So that's some of these dashboards are like live, so the data is updated like every hour. So.
Okay, well, thanks, Yusuf, and we appreciate you taking the time to give this valuable information to the folks, and we'll move on then to our very own Eric Kratt.
Actually, before we do that, I do have one question in the chat. Could we get a list of what is updated monthly versus hourly or daily? I don't know where that might be available.
Yeah, we could send a list. This person is asking. They could send us an email, and I will send the list to them. So yeah, I could send the list to them. If you see something that is updated in the Tableau server between March 3rd, between the 3rd of the month and the 5th of the month, there's always going to be a monthly dashboard. If you see a dashboard that is updated like the 26th, 27th, or like the 15th of the month, any other day, it will be updated daily. But we could send a list of that, sure.
Okay, anything else? Then I guess it's up to Mr. Kratt to continue.
There is actually one more question. Can I clarify, are you going to send that list to the group, Yusuf, or is this information posted somewhere?
It's not posted. I will have to compile this list and send it. I could send it to the group if it's helpful for everyone. Sure.
Eric and Yusuf, this is Heidi. I'd be happy to send that out if you could send that my direction.
Sure.
And I'll do that on behalf of all of you.
That sounds great. Thanks,
Thank you.
Heidi.
Thank you.
Well, good morning, everybody. This is Eric with the SSIS user support team. I want to thank Yusuf and Jillian for being here this morning to walk us through Tableau Server. Again, just kind of a high level detail of what that tool can do in the realm of child welfare services. So thank you very much for being here. Before I jump into my material, I know we have kind of a short time, but I do want to make mention that our fearless leader, Alex Mendez, who I believe is on the call, has accepted a new position over at the Department of Human Services and will no longer be managing the SSIS business section effective April 1st. And just want to wish her congratulations, as well as kind of a sad face, because over the last couple years, she's helped our section really get our stuff together and work on partnership with agencies. And I just wanted to make mention of that before I dive into any of the other materials. So we wish you well, Alex. I don't know if Alex wants to say anything. This is kind of on the spot.
Hi, Eric. It's Alex. Thank you. I just want to say thank you so much. I've really just loved working with the local agencies, the counties, and the tribes so much. And I'm so excited for you to have technology that supports your work better in the very near future. So thank you so much, everybody. Thanks for the nice words, Eric.
All right, thanks, Alex. So sorry for the heavy child welfare focus here at the top of the presentation, but this slide that you're seeing right now covers information related to the public-facing Minnesota Child Welfare Data Dashboard. Minnesota's public child welfare system is designed to serve the state's children and families, as well as communities in which they live and work. Performance measures help monitor the outcomes of children touched by the child welfare system. The department and its county and tribal partners are responsible to ensure that children are safe, remain with their families when safe to do so, receive services so children can return safely home and receive support to remain at home safely, live in safe, stable homes with relatives whenever possible, achieve permanency through adoption if needed. Users of the dashboard can toggle through to get information regarding statewide performance detail, agency performance detail, progress and performance data, and trends over time. The first page, as indicated by this slide, shows the overall status for the state on given measures in a given year for both state and federal measures. including a description of the measure, performance by agency with additional details shown when hovering over a geographic area, state trends over previous 3 years, a table describing the number of counties that have met or not met the performance standard, and performance by racial and ethnic categories based on census groupings. The link on this slide will take you to the Minnesota Child Welfare Data Dashboard. The information on this page can inform decision makings at the local agencies. The next thing I want to cover is SSIS general reports. General reports are available from the Tools menu in SSIS. There are many folders available for both worker-related and physical-related reports. Reports can be in other areas of the worker and physical application, such as the task panel, as illustrated on this screenshot in the lower right portion of the slide. But today we're going to primarily be focusing on the reports found under Tools and General Reports in SSIS. Before we dive into the variety of reports that workers can find in SSIS, there are 2 types of predefined general reports: banded, otherwise known as PDF reports, and enhanced grid reports, otherwise known as grid reports. They're listed on this slide here. There is a setup tab for each report to select the scope and search criteria for each report. For the enhanced grid reports, you can also customize the report by using the grid functionality that Marcia will cover later in this presentation. This next slide shows an example of the setup screen for a banded or PDF report. This example is of the case list report found under the case workgroup folder. Even though the format is already defined for you, you still have options to include or exclude details, as well as set the time frame for the information you want to see, and sometimes have the ability to add a sort order, as indicated on the slide, with descending. This is just a quick example of the report output for a case list banded PDF type report. When viewing on the preview tab screen, if there are multiple pages, you will need to use the arrows at the top of the tab to move from page to page within this preview. Banded reports can be printed or saved as a PDF and emailed to other decision makers at your agency. This next slide shows the enhanced grid report, otherwise known as grid report setup screen. Very similar to the banded and PDF report, you can adjust the date range, choose from department, unit, or worker to base the report on, as well as workgroup status and program filter selections. The max results defaults to 500. That max results field is at the very top of the screen. And if the report has more than 500 results, you will get a pop-up window letting you know the results may not be complete. So you'll either want to adjust your grid to include filters that filter out info, then rerun the report, or go back to the report setup and adjust the max results field to be large enough to include all of the results. The max results default gives you the opportunity to adjust to a smaller scope if the results are large, potentially avoiding long-running reports if not necessary. If you are wanting to look at all of the assessment and case management work groups assigned to a particular unit, regardless of the program type, perhaps you have a unit with varied workers working with multiple programs, as we do in many of our smaller agencies, you can click on the Check All button. Since this is a grid type report, you can still adjust your grid results later on, but using groups or filters to choose one or some of the program types, since program column is one of the options. This slide is just showing and the same data we saw from the case list banded report, but this time using the enhanced grid report. This is the report using the default columns, but many additional columns are available, as well as all of the other grid menu options. I apologize that I'm not walking through specific functionality here. I'm just kind of talking through it. But up on the very top right next to the workgroup column is the field chooser icon. Using this can adjust the report to reflect the specifics that you want, and it can add additional comments or columns, I should say. And then right-clicking on any one of the columns will give you that advanced grid menu, which some of you are familiar with. You can alter how this report is displaying, perhaps run it for unit and group by worker, adding subfooters with counts to be able to quickly and easily see counts of open work groups assigned to a specific unit by worker. You can further use groupings or filters to then look at items within a specific time period or only include specific workers or programs. There are a lot of ways to organize these grid reports, and we encourage those who use them frequently to play around with them. Lots of options to personalize the report based on your individual agency unit or worker needs. The next slides, I'm going to go over some of the reports, or many of the reports you'll find in SSIS general reports, but I'm just going to give a high-level overview of each one of the categories. So at the top left of this slide, we have the adoption reports. These reports track child wards in Minnesota, focus on adoption eligibility, state adoption exchange verification status, and adoption events. At the bottom left of the screen are the adult maltreatment reports. Please reference the SSIS Adult Protection User Guide on page 101 for more information. The Adult Protection User Guide can be found on our worker documentation page under adult maltreatment. At the top right of this slide, we have our BizOrg provider licensing reports. These track expiration dates, application status, open work groups without active licenses, services offered, and unmet tracking items. These reports help manage renewals, compliance, and provider details. At the bottom right, we have our case and workgroup reports, and these include case and workgroup tracking, including worker assignments, track service plan completion, client contacts, privacy notices, and case statistics. They support workload management and compliance monitoring related to the case and workgroup. Next slide. At the top left, we have our child maltreatment general reports, and they provide data on assessments, investigations, allegations, and service needs, helping track trends and help monitor timely interventions. The next three reports at the bottom left, I've kind of grouped them together. We have our SEY report, and we'll use this report to identify clients requiring SEY information. 4E eligibility, this report provides a list of children in continuous placement, including the most recent information received from Maxis regarding the child's 4E eligibility and reimbursability for the particular placement. And then we have some Menited blank forms. Use this report to print blank copies of the Menited survey, baseline 17-year-old, Menited extra contact sheets, and Menited notice of privacy practices. At the top center, we have our intake reports. Excuse me. These track child maltreatment screening times, intake statistics, allegation trends, and intake logs. They help monitor intake processes and timeliness. Bottom center, we have our client data reports. These support data accuracy and track missing or duplicate client information, mental health assessments, disability evaluations, substance involvement, ICWA clients, and records management. At the top right, we have placement reports. These track children in out-of-home care, covering placement locations, siblings placements, service plans, foster care contacts, and review schedules. They help monitor placement accuracy and service needs. Next, we have our fiscally centered general reports. At the top left, we have the healthcare claims reports. These track claim details, revenue, exceptions, and potentially billable records. They help monitor claim accuracy, payment processing, and compliance. The middle left, we have the payments reports, and they track social services payments, payment audits, eligibility for North Star payments, and board approvals. They help with financial oversight. In the bottom left, we have programs and services reports, providing details on available services, claimable activities, programs, and staff billing rates to support service management and reimbursement. In the middle, we have healthcare eligibility reports, and they track client eligibility, claims, screening, and financial data for various healthcare programs. They help with eligibility verification, billing, and service management. At the top right, we have service arrangement reporting. They track service arrangements, vouchers, and payments, organizing reports by client, vendor, or specific criteria to aid financial and service management. And then we have our maximums. We have the one report associated with maximums. It gives us a list of the chart of account maximums that have been entered into SSIS. It also includes any service arrangements that have been approved and waiting for payments to be made, the available amount under the COA, and the amount expended. Almost done, folks. Then we have some security and reporting general reports. At the top left, we have our security reports, and they track worker roles, functions, and claim qualifications. They help provide insight on staff assignments and access control. On the middle left, we have state reporting, and reports track Title IV child support adjustments and Seeger conversion data, providing year-to-date summaries and cost allocation details for financial reporting. Bottom left, we have our time reports. These track staff activity, summarizing time by program, service, and activity. They help monitor work distribution, funding allocation, and unbalanced time records. At the top right, we have special studies. This grid report includes records of special studies created by the state or created at the agency level. And then finally, we have our statewide case access report. This grid report includes the records of all approved and denied requests for statewide access. Pending requests are excluded from this report. Use this report to view approved and denied requests for statewide access to work groups with a request date within the date range selected. Pending requests are excluded from this report, as I already indicated. And then finally, we have, due to time constraints, we don't really have time to get into the advanced search feature in SSIS. The good news, though, is that we have composed an e-learning on advanced searches that you can partake in on demand. You'll navigate to the SSIS resource page or an Engagement HQ page and look under the training resources and physical online training. Do we have any questions? I saw some stuff going on in the chat. Or is it just kind of sharing ideas?
Kind of more ideas. We had a question about if there are examples of some reports that are run in each people's or each agency. And so I just responded that there are many options for reports, and it really kind of depends on what data you're looking for. Please reach out to the help desk if there's something specific you're looking for. We can get you connected with people that might be helpful in helping you find that information. And then we have a couple people that have responded on what reports they've used.
Mm-hmm.
So
we do have quite a dated job aid on our worker documentation page, which I'll throw in the chat, that goes over many of the reports that I've just covered, and does give kind of an example. The last time this was updated was in 2009, so it is missing about 4 or 5 reports that have been added to SSIS over time. It is on my radar to have this updated eventually, but this will give you a lot of examples and provide a little bit more detail about each one of the reports that I summarized previously. All right, let's move over to management tools, and Marcia's got this one.
Thanks, Eric. Hi, I'm Marcia. I'm in the SSIS section as well. And I'm going to cover intakes needing action. And really, this could be its own training. So I'm really just going to do a little high overview that I wanted to make sure people are aware of. We get calls sometimes about this one. So for supervisors or lead staff overseeing intake units, it's important to regularly check the intakes needing action screen, which you can find on the intake search screen. Mentors should ensure that there's a designated person or persons responsible for reviewing this list regularly and following up on these items. The intakes needing action screen displays work groups that need attention. So it can include two different sets of things. So all open intakes, as long as you have that indicator set to say include the open intakes. But it also can include closed intakes that still require an association with an existing work group. So either you closed it with reason of refer to current work group, or you closed it with reason of open to assessment or open to case management, and you haven't taken that next step from the intake. So those things are going to be noted right here to say there's another step you need to take. So these intakes are created by any worker that was open for any number of days indicated in that include intakes open for number of days or more. So you can see that at the top of that screenshot. So you get to decide how long do I want to, if I set it to 14, it means it's going to include anything that's been open for 14 days or longer, right? You can set it to 5, you can set it to whatever you like, right? Whatever it is, that's kind of your indicator where, hey, I need to follow up on these. They haven't been finished yet. They haven't been dispositioned fully. If your agency has a long list on that intakes needing action screen, that liability for your agency is really going to be high and things are likely falling through the cracks. This is how you stop them from falling through the cracks, is by making sure that you're staying on top of these intakes. They're being dispositioned, they're fully, all the actions that are indicated have been taken. It's really crucial that intakes are acted upon in a timely manner. Your agency should have a process in place to ensure that this list is regularly reviewed and any necessary steps taken to keep the list up to date and current. So key things to look at when you're doing reviewing of this screen. Are there open intakes awaiting disposition? If so, follow up with whomever's assigned, whether it be a unit or a worker, a specific worker, follow up and ensure that those items are dispositioned timely and fully. And if there's any duplicates, those should be deleted. Are there closed items on the list? So if there are, review the required action. And again, follow up. As indicated in the close reason, if they said this needs to be referred to a current work group, if that action isn't taken soon, that work group might be closed, and then you have to come back and change your close reason. And you'll have to decide, do I need to now open a new assessment because we didn't assess, whatever it was that we were going to refer on to? You have to make more decisions. It gets more complicated. So doing things timely is going to keep it nice and clean and make sure things aren't falling through those cracks. Another one is, are the workers updating that SSIS default unit? So we've mentioned this at several coffee talks previously, but if you recall, when things are transitioned from another area, or if they're coming over from the MARC, so if they're coming from another county, or they're coming from a tribal agency, or they are a transfer from the MARC, they're set to SSIS default unit when it comes to your agency, because every agency has different units and the system can't decide where should this go. So before closing each of these intakes, intake workers should be trained and reminded that they need to make sure that intake, the intake unit, on that intake is updated. And that can be done from the work group tab on the intake. If your agency isn't regularly reviewing this list, work with your team to develop a cleanup plan and create a process to prevent intakes needing action from being overlooked in the future. It's really an important piece. Like I said, if you're letting things fall through the cracks, your liability is also going up, and you're letting clients fall through the cracks too. So it's really important to stay on top of this. And if you need assistance with any of these, you've waited too long, it's going to be your decisions to make what you're going to do. But if you need some assistance on what are the options here, certainly send a question into the help desk and we can have a SME talk with you and kind of work through what the options might be. Any questions on this one?
Yep. Actually, Marcia, we do have a question. If the intake needing action does not get changed in the intake, will it cause any issues? Like the work group doesn't get updated to the unit or?
Thank you. Yeah, that's a really good question. Thanks, Cindy, for bringing that up. That's exactly right. So if the intake isn't getting changed, I'm sorry, the intake unit, right? The work group unit in the intake is not getting changed, then yes, when you go to set up the work group, it's very likely that that's going to carry over, because a lot of us, that's how we have it set, is to carry it over from the intake. And so then it's also going to be wrong in the unit, in the assessment or case management work group, whatever you're creating from this intake, unless you update that or you have different settings. So that's very often the case. And it also creates problems with your data, right? If you're an agency who is relying on some of the reports that were mentioned earlier or on various data points, looking at, like, you know, if you have several units and you're looking at how many units, how many intakes are, you know, opened in each unit, that kind of thing. Yeah, information is going to be off because a lot of them are going to be assigned to the SSIS default because they weren't updated. So yeah, that's really important to stay on top of that.
And then we had one more question. If the intake needing action has a closed disposition, how do we see what additional tasks need to be completed to get it off their list?
Perfect. Yeah. So Becky, so when you see it's closed, but it's on your intakes needing action list, what you do is you look at the closed reason on that particular intake, because that's the piece that it's looking for. It's looking to say, if you said, if you closed with open for assessment, intake complete, then it's looking for you to open an assessment work group from that intake. So right click on that intake, open the case setup, right? The case work group setup, so that you actually open an assessment from that work group. If you have the closed reason of refer to current work group, it's looking for you to actually take that action. Right click on that intake and refer it to the work group that you're intending to refer it onto, so that let's say it was if it was possibly a maltreatment report, so that gets attached to the correct open work group with open maltreatment report. So yeah, you have to make sure that those things are happening. And that's really your cue, is making sure that you're looking at that intakes needing action and looking at what was the close reason. Anything else?
Thanks, Marcia. That's all we got for now.
All right.
All right, thanks, Marcia. The next thing I want to cover is the user view log. We get a lot of questions about this. The user view log allows users with administrative rights to view screens and details that have been viewed by workers. To access the functionality of the user view log, users must have the function of administer system assigned to their role in SSIS administration. Of note, it is important for agencies to limit access to this function in SSIS to leadership and other significant staff who administer the functions in SSIS. Users will select a date range, which is kind of unnecessary sometimes because this screen will only give you 6 months worth of data. Again, of note, users should enter a worker and or a primary key to narrow search parameters. However, it is not required to have both. The slide lists up on the top right some primary key examples, including the person number, the work group number, child maltreatment report number, case number, etc., and gives that unique key detail. Once the user enters the information in the fields listed above and selects search, the screens accessed by a particular worker within the last 6 months will display in the tree view and the grid. Fields in the user view log detail screen are dependent upon the user's selection in the tree view or the grid. These fields will display information based on which screens the user has viewed within the application. Note that the user view log allows a user to view screens accessed, viewed by workers, but will not provide detail on any of the fields or data that was changed or added. Due to limited information and limited timeframes available via the user view log, agencies should not rely solely on the user view log for internal privacy data breach investigations. Instead, it is encouraged to contact the SSIS help desk if more information is needed, or if information is needed beyond that 6-month window in SSIS. For more guidance on the SSIS user view log, again, you can contact the SSIS help desk. The next thing I'm going to cover is Table Viewer. Again, just a brief overview of Table Viewer. This could be a training in and of itself. Table Viewer is available to all users with access to SSIS administration. SSIS uses relational database, meaning each table relates to one or more tables in a database. Tables in computer programming are data structures used to organize information. For example, the person table, the time record table, and the work group table are frequently referenced and updated in daily SSIS work. Tables contain records, and each record has a specific set of defined fields. A field is an area in a fixed or known location in a unit of data, such as a record, message header, or computer instruction. Amongst many things Table Viewer can do, it can tell users the last user who added or updated a record in a specific table. It can locate a work group or staff member associated with a special study. It can find out who changed a time record. Table Viewer cannot tell users the exact content of what was changed. It can't be edited. Nothing can be edited or altered in this tool. And there is not a real solid search feature built into this tool to narrow down or filter data. I listed some instruction on this slide to help define how you can look up who changed a time record. So on the top left of the screen is, you see the table name is time record. And I think what I've instructed you to do is search by the date range or by all records. Right click on the headers and choose best fit all columns. Since there isn't a search function in the grid, from the workgroup ID field, you can sort ascending or descending. And once you find the workgroup ID in question, scroll to the last change date, and that's in the screenshot to the right of that, and write down the ID. And then what you'll have to do is you'll have to navigate the screenshot in the lower left portion of the screen shows the staff the table name of staff, and that's where you can look up the staff ID that last changed or entered information on that time record. And it shows, you know, who is associated with that particular staff ID, and in this example, it's myself. Not the greatest walkthrough of this, but I did want to kind of give a high-level overview of how individuals can use Table Viewer at their agencies. And I just also wanted to indicate that some agencies have a process for utilizing this tool, and to check with your agency's leadership on that protocol.
Eric, we don't have any additional questions right now, but there is some good information regarding some general reports for adult protection that Anna put in the chat, and a link to the adult protection user guide. So definitely check that out.
All right.
Thanks, Eric. Next up is Marcia.
Great. I just threw in the chat, since I know I'm going to fly through this, and we've previously done some grid coffee talks in the past. I did one in March 2022, which is still posted out on the Minnesota Child Welfare Training Academy site. So I posted that link in the chat, where we actually did some live demos. So if that's really the way you learn best, definitely go check that out. I'm not going to go through as much detail as I did in that particular coffee talk, which we had a lot more time for. So I'm going to go through some of the grid stuff, and some of the grid functionality Eric has already mentioned, which is fantastic. You're going to see really grids just have a load of functionality available that I think is really, really powerful, yet underutilized right now in SSIS in a lot of areas. So the SSIS grids and their associated functionalities, what we're going to walk through. Grids are present throughout SSIS, and wherever there's a grid, there's an opportunity for reporting as well as flexibility in how that data can be displayed. So you can manipulate grids to adjust the level of detail, giving you a lot of control over what information that you see on your screen. Grid options are available across SSIS, so including various searches and general reports like was mentioned earlier. Those are the ones with the blue and the white icons. These grids offer unique ways to find, manage, and organize data, making them invaluable for focusing searches, extracting the necessary information, and creating customized reports, even beyond general reports, right? So really, essentially, every grid that you see, whether it's in your general report section or not, every grid is potentially a report. So for agency supervisors, lead staff, and mentors, mastering those SSIS grids and that functionality is really an essential tool for quick access to vital information, supporting quality assurance, supervision, and administrative decisions. Grids can be adjusted to meet specific needs, allowing for more or less detail. You can use grids to extract the data that you need for reporting, and then use the grid options to format the report as desired. Once formatted, grid settings can be saved, shared, reused, and making it easier to compare data over time using those consistent parameters. Key grid features include column resizing, field choosers, footers, subfooters for counts and totals, sorting, grouping, auto filters, and many more. Any changes that you make in your grids are saved until they're updated or reset to default settings. For more detailed guidance, the SSIS worker documentation page also has several resources under the grids section, offering instructions on how to maximize grid functionality in SSIS. So of note, due to time, I'm really going to be running through these fairly quickly, but like I said, there is available the actual demo for we have a coffee talk that's just on grids and general reports. And you can find that in the Child Welfare Training Academy page, and it's dated March 2022. All right, I am gonna jump to the next one. And I see a question there, Susan. We're going to talk about that. So you're jumping ahead of me. I will definitely get to that and tell you how to export to Excel. Okay, so we're going to start with field column chooser. So given our limited time and amount of material, like I said, I'm not going to go through everything in detail, but I'm really going to focus on highlighting some of the most useful grid functionality, some of the kind of the easier things too, that just get in there and start using. You don't necessarily need to go through a big manual to figure out how to use. So first, let's talk about the column chooser. Sometimes you'll hear it also called the field chooser. This tool allows you to easily select or deselect column headers from a list of optional columns, giving you flexibility in how that data is displayed. So to reposition or move a column within the grid, simply click and hold the left mouse button on the column header that you want to move, then drag it to the desired location within the header row. For example, I can drag, you see in the bottom screenshot there, I can drag status column. And once I see those green arrows between the program and unit columns, I can drop it right there and it will move that entire column to right between the program and the unit columns. To remove a column, I can drag the header off the grid. You'll see an X appear, indicating that if you drop the column where the X appears, it will be removed from the visible headers. If you made a mistake, that's not a problem. Just click back on that column chooser or the field chooser button again and recheck the column that you want to add back into the header row. Simple features available like this really allow you to tailor your grid views to suit your needs. Next slide. So some columns to add, and these are just some suggestions, some things that I use quite often previously that I'm aware of that are useful. Of course, you can add things all over the place, but here are some suggestions for starting out if you're trying to try out this functionality. So if you use the activity log, in the activity log, adding the purpose column gives more detail without needing to open records. So if you're encouraging your staff who are doing time recording to use that purpose line, it's going to add that purpose information right there to your grid view. So you don't have to open every individual note to find the information that you want to find. It can save you a lot of time. Another option to add, the status and method columns are also useful for contact searches. The new default active efforts column, so that's newly defaulted into your grid. That column highlights notes with active efforts. So if unnecessary, if maybe you're a worker who doesn't do active efforts, maybe you're working with adults, you know, it's just adding, sometimes having those extra things added also can be visual clutter. Go ahead and go into your column chooser and unselect active efforts or any of the other options. I usually would tell people to unselect the case since they already have the workgroup name, and sometimes they aren't the same. So those are some helpful little tips that you can give staff. In the workgroup folder, add the workgroup end date, unit, and primary worker columns to be able to quickly identify open workgroups by sorting on the end date. So again, rather than having workers click on individual workgroups to figure out what workgroups are open and with who, you can just have that sorted, that grid sorted, so that when you click on the workgroup folder itself, you can see right at the top, here are my open workgroups. Here are the open workgroups for this client. Here's who they're working with. Here's the unit. It makes it really quick to identify that information. In chronology, the purpose and active efforts columns are also now defaulted. Consider adding the last edit date, staff, and activity. The last edit date helps locate notes because you can then sort on it to view the most recent entries. So again, that one is particularly helpful when you have workers calling and saying, hey, I entered a note and I can't find it, right? Sometimes they just simply put the wrong activity date in their note. And so now they can't find it. If you sort by last edit date, you should be able to find it if they know when they entered it. In the person search screens, adding the SSIS person number allows you to determine whether two entries with the same name are tied to the same or different person identities. If they share the same person number, it's likely due to matching criteria for multiple systems, and you can be assured that choosing either one brings you to the same set of information, right? The same person information. However, if the person numbers differ, you'll need to determine which entry is the correct one that you're wanting to add information to, and inform your SSIS coordinator or mentor if there's further action needed, such as if both appear to be the same person, in which case there might need to be a merge that occurs. Regularly check the column chooser for column options when using grids to see what optional columns are available that you might find useful. It's not always obvious until you actually click on that and see what are those options. All right.
Say, Marcia,
yeah, go ahead.
We do have a quick question. So the active efforts box is for any case notes that have these efforts, but can we run a report and pull all notes that have this clicked? And is there a way this will start to automatically fill into the active efforts tab of the
good questions. Yeah, okay, I wish. So not yet. So our first step was, of course, adding in the active efforts checkbox, right? And so that can be used if your agency chooses to use that. And so a report by worker for that using the activity log, or by client in the chronology log in the work group, in a particular work group, you could certainly run a report showing here's all the notes with those active efforts that, you know, where a worker checked that active efforts box. Currently, no, there is not any way that that's going to start automatically filling into the active efforts tab of ICWA tab. That's still required to be entered. However, it might save your workers a lot of time if they're checking that ICWA active efforts box in their notes. When they go to do that ICWA tab, they can use the filters or sorts available in their grids to find really quickly all of their active efforts notes for a particular work group or a particular client. So hopefully that helps. So right now, it's just a tool that we added to help hopefully make things a little more efficient if agencies choose to use that. All right, next slide. Okay, thank you. The grid options menu can be accessed by right-clicking on any one of the grid headers. Before using the grid options to adjust your grid, be sure that you have at least one row of results displaying in your grid. Otherwise, any adjustments that you make to the grid headers will not be saved for the next time you open the grid header. So remember I said it'll be saved. Well, that only happens if you at least have one row of results in whatever grid. So a lot of times I teach somebody how to do this. They go into their activity log and they make changes before having any notes showing up. So there's no actual rows showing. And then of course they wonder why their grid settings aren't saving. That's why you have to have at least one row of results for those to save. Okay, next slide. Okay, so, oops, I think I skipped around here a little bit. There we are. Print grid grid menu options, print grid. So print grid brings up print preview, and in many instances, this will contain some information about the grid within the preview. So giving you a bit of info about why it displays as it does, or why something isn't included in there. So example, on this item, it indicates I had a yes for include secondary assignments and indicates the grid is including work groups closed within the past 30 days. This is a really good spot to check out whether you intend to print or not if you're wanting to learn a bit more about why certain info is or isn't within your grid. This will give you that information right at the top. So I often use this. I don't print grids. I don't even have a printer, but I often still use that print grid in order to bring up that print grid preview. All right. Next slide. Exporting data to Excel. So here we are. I think, Susan, you had asked about this. So exporting data to Excel spreadsheet can make it easier to work with at times. So you can add pivot tables and charts, and Excel allows for a lot of additional data analyzing tools that aren't available within SSIS. So examples might be, you might want to use formulas, deduplicating options, additional filtering options, etc. You can also export to not just Excel, but to HTML, text, comma, delimited, or XML, whatever your preference is. So if you're wanting some larger, maybe unit, department, or even agency-wide data for reporting, this can be a great option. And essentially, that's all you're doing is you're right-clicking on one of your grid headers, and then you're choosing Export Grid. Similarly, you can see that there's an option to export raw grid. So at the moment, there is a known defect that prevents users from using the export raw grid. But since I expect that's going to be fixed in a coming release, I really wanted to still mention how that differs from export grid. So essentially, the export grid option is going to display and it's going to export any of the information that you have currently displayed in your grid. So you can adjust it within SSIS and then export, and it's only going to display what you chose to display. If you're choosing export raw grid, however, it's going to export everything, all the optional columns, sometimes even things that aren't included in your optional columns, but are in a particular grid that grid is displaying. It will include all of the information available. So you might have a lot more columns than you're showing in SSIS as displayed. So that is the difference between export grid and export raw grid.
Marcia, we do have a question. Yeah. Does SSIS have plans to update the Excel export feature to save as a .xlsx file?
I don't know that answer, Melinda, so we'd have to check on that. If you want to send that into the help desk, we can follow up and see. I guess nothing that I'm aware of, but we can certainly follow up to see if that's an option or could be an option. All right. Thanks, Ross. So for grid menu options, sort and group by. For grids, you can add or remove groupings as well as sort by a chosen column in the overall grid headings, as well as within the grouping level columns. So I have some examples here of how you can use those sorts, sort ascending or descending. You can clear the sorting. You can also add those group by fields and the group by box so that you can just drag a header into the group by box and everything will be grouped by that particular item. Play with that a little bit. It'll make more sense once you're in there moving things around. You can also, if you already have something that's using the group by box, you can grab that header and bring it back into, again, using that drag feature, drag and drop, drag the header back into the column headers. And I think we're running short on time, so I want to be careful here because I know, Eric, you have some more things. So I am going to let us skip over the next few. Like I said, there's a few more that we added in here. I have a lot more information on the March 22 grid options and grid coffee talk. So we're going to skip over some of these. And I think you can jump down to slide 37.
Just wanted to chime in here really quick. We did have an action-packed agenda here for you today, and I may have to record my last set of slides, and that's fine, and attach it to this. So I want to make sure Andrea is able to talk a little bit about our data integrity reports, and then we can maybe just finish up. Thanks.
Thanks, Eric. My name is Andrea, and I'm an SSIS SME for admin. We're going to talk a little bit about data integrity reports. There is a list of data integrity reports located under Tools, General Reports, Data Integrity Reports. These reports are to be run monthly. Each report after being run should be investigated, and any issues on them should be corrected. Next slide. The importance of data integrity reports. Data integrity reports are important because they help maintain regulatory compliance. They help ensure accuracy, consistency, and reliability of your data. They help ensure the usability of your data. It improves and secures the searchability and traceability of data to its original source. It strengthens the stability of your data and offers optimum performance and makes it usable and maintained easily. Failure to maintain data integrity can have significant effects on your agency. The Help Desk sends out an email to all non-compliant agencies quarterly. This will alert agencies that they missed running their reports. It's not just running the reports that keeps you in compliance that is the goal. The goal is to keep the reports cleaned up. Most of the reports are banded reports, which means they have instructions or information on the top of the report to assist the user in correcting the errors. If you correct the errors on the data integrity reports, you could reduce the number of AFCAR's errors, improve your clearing issues, and to help identify existing data integrity issues. There is at least one person at each agency that receives this report. Check with your mentor if you need more information on it or if you would like to receive it. Purge is a process that deletes data from the SSIS database that is no longer required to be kept. For the purge process to run, agency must ensure that they have a purge date selected. If there's a 0 selected, purge will not run. We suggest setting a purge date from 1 to 28. There's also a new purge document located on the SSIS worker documentation page. Clearing is the process used to ensure that there are no duplicate client entries in the SSIS database. Client clearing may be handled differently at each agency. Agents must have the role function of clear clients to agency staff that are performing clearing. This is done using the admin tab. A good thing to know is who does the clearing at your agency. There is an updated clearing manual and a new FAQ document located on the SSIS worker documentation page for your reference. And we move to Marcia.
All right.
Right.
Again. Oh, go ahead, Eric. I was just going to tell
Sorry.
you I'm gonna skip it. Go ahead.
Ross, if you want to skip to slide 68, we got to wrap this up. This is, I think, the first time where we've had too much content to fit within one coffee talk. So congratulations to us for that. I'll hand this over to Ross in just a second. I did want to make note that we do have quite a few resources for supervisors and lead staff to reference. Again, they're at the tail end of this presentation for those who received the slides. Otherwise, this slide deck will be posted on the Minnesota Child Welfare Training Academy website within 7 to 10 days after this recording, so you can download it and keep it for yourself. I do want to make mention that we do have a lot of openings for our upcoming SSIS adult protection training. So I posted that link above. I'll go ahead and throw it in the chat again for those who want information on how to register for that. And Ross, I'm going to turn it over to you to close us out. Thanks, everybody.
All right. Thanks, Eric. Okay. Well, we wanted to make the announcement that there will be another coffee talk in April. So set your calendar from 9 to 10:30 on April 22nd, which is always a Tuesday. More information will be coming soon. We really do appreciate you taking the time this morning to learn all this good information. And we want you to stay golden, Minnesota. Radio Ross out.